Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan and part 2 of the Nativity bench pillow. Part 1 is going to be a live video, and I am actually videoing this one. I'm filming this video and maybe a couple more actually before the live video so that I have them done because there's quite a few blocks in this pillow, as you can see. So in the first video, the live video, we'll talk about the fabrics and everything. So we're just going to dive right into sewing in this video. So in this one, we're going to do, and this is part 2 of the Nativity bench pillow. So we're going to be doing blocks 2, 3, and 4. So it's going to be up to about the center block here. We're going to do 3 blocks in this video. And we're just going to dive right in and do them. None of these blocks are very complicated. They're simple applique. There's a couple, I think there's 1 or 2 that have a little bit of fringe in them, but otherwise they're pretty quick and easy blocks. And I've been wanting to do this pillow for a couple of years. I think I've had it cut out for 2 years sitting in a box. So this is the year we're going to make our Nativity bench pillow before Christmas. So this is going to be November's classes. And I've just been anxious to make this pillow. So, all right, so let's go on to block number 2. So we're going to work with block number 2. I have my little kit here for block number 2. And it says you need to have fusible backing to the wrong sides of the background and the shepherd fabrics. So I have those here, and we're going to have a little piece of flex foam and some Mylar stars, I believe. So that's what the Mylar's for. And then the donkey is going to be this light brown. And so there's no shape flex on the back of that because it's got some foam behind it. So we got a piece of foam in our little donkey fabric. And then this is going to be the shepherds. Yes, this is going to be the shepherds, the lighter kind of white creamy fabric. And then the blue is going to be the background. So, and I may have to get up and press that real quick. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was so creased. It has been in the box a while. So, all right. So we're going to be getting our design here. This is going to be, now normally when I do these bench pillows, the last ones that they've done have been done in, they're all about the same size, the blocks. So with the quilting, if you're going to be doing the quilting as you go, which I'm going to be, they really need to be in an 8x12 hoop. You can technically do them in a 6x10 if you remove, like if you only have a 6x10, even with the quilting, and I'll link the video below, you can take out the step 3 and step 4, and it will make it narrow enough so that you can do it in a 6x10 hoop. So that's something to think about if you have a smaller machine, that you can do that. You just need a little basic software to do that. And I'll have that video linked below because I did that for Sweet Land of Liberty, the pillow, that video. So, but we're going to do this in an 8x12 hoop. I'm just going to do them all in an 8x12. The first video that we're going to be doing in the live video, you may have already seen that video. We're doing these in kind of out of order, but that block is a little smaller. The 2 end blocks, the ones on each end, are a little smaller, and so you could use a 6x10 for that. I just want to do an 8x12 for all of them, just make it easy. So for me, so I don't have to grab more than 1 hoop. All right, so we're going to go get our design. Now I do happen to have the designs for the quilting for this one. They were really cool. The first one's called Stars 5. So we're going to go get the Stars 5, and we need the 6x8 design for the block by block quilting here. So we're going to go get, here's the Nativity bench pillow, Stars 5, and then we need the 6x8 design. And that may be the only one I have. Yeah, that's the one I put in here. I stuck it in the same folder so I didn't have to run around trying to find them. So here's that one. And so see, it's actually 6.5 by 8.5 when it's done. Okay, and then we're going to bring in block number 2. So I'm going to hit add and bring in block number 2 off my stick. Nativity bench pillow. I'm so excited to get started on this one. Oops, let's see, got to go back a folder here. There we go, embroidery files, there we go. And then we're doing the bigger ones, so 6x10 single hoop. We're not doing, there's some split ones, so if you have a really small hoop, you can do the split ones. But I think block 2 is right here, so it's, yeah, it's the donkey and the shepherd. So we're going to get that one. Okay, and it says to bring it in centered, which it automatically will do. Okay, and then we're going to hit set and embroidery. Okay, so we're ready for the quilting. If you give me a minute, I'm just going to go press my, I'll turn the camera off for a minute and go press my background fabric. It got kind of wrinkly and all folded up in my bag. Just a moment, I'll be right back. Okay, so I pressed my background fabric. It looks way better. And I'm going to put my blue thread in for that. It is called Blue Favorite 1240. My brother thread that matched that fabric pretty well. So we're going to put that in and we'll do the quilting in the blue. I think that's what it says in the instructions. And we're going to do the quilting first. Now it seems like the quilting added a lot of time to this, so it must be, the quilting design must be rather intense. So but we'll have the camera off during that. The actual stitch out, because I remember looking at the stitch out on the, sorry, I keep dropping everything on the floor. The actual stitch out, and it was only about 10 or 15 minutes. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and start step number 1. Remember, this is going to be done in an 8x12 hoop. Step number 1 is always our placement line for the batting. So I've got my batting chunk ready here. Trying not to knock all my mylar off on the floor too. And I've just got chunks of batting, just like I've done most of my Kimberbell things. I don't cut the batting out. If you want to cut your batting to the size it says, you can print off the instructions for the quilting designs and then do that. I prefer to just use chunks of batting because I have to trim it anyway. And then I don't have to cut. I don't like to cut very well. So, all right. So we're going to get this. I wonder if it'll go this way too. Oh, it might. Here we go. It'll go that way. All right. So then step number 2 is going to be the tack down line for our batting. And then we're going to trim the batting. I'm going to get my shepherd fabric over there so I don't lose that either. And there was quite a few, there wasn't too many colors in this. It was just very few colors in this design. And I thought, well, we're going to work on this. I just am real anxious to try this pattern. And I've been wanting to do it for, ever since it came out. It came out a couple of years ago. And I bought everything at that time, even the fabric kit. And I cut it out. And that's as far as it got. So this is the year, everybody. We're going to make this pillow. This will be our November fun Christmas project. I always like to do Christmas projects in November. Okay, so it's gonna go around the edges, okay? Then we're gonna trim our batting. Maybe. Having a little trouble trimming. I'm gonna trim our batting. So these are pretty good sized blocks, but there wasn't a ton of embroidery on any of these. When I kind of looked at it, I thought, well, we can do this. It won't be bad to do, but I knew I was going to have to do some pre-recorded videos for you. We'll do a couple live videos. We'll put it together live, and I'll do 3 recorded videos with blocks and and probably quilting the borders, because there's a border quilting that you have to do. So we'll do those 3 pre-recorded. Okay, so then step number 3. Now 3 and 4 would be the ones, if you only have a 6x10 hoop, if you would take these 2 out with a basic piece of software like the Dime Embroidery Tool Shed Plus would work great for this. It's $129. It's very inexpensive software. You could take these out and then you could do this in a 6x10 frame. But I have an 8x12, so I'm just going to go ahead and stitch step number 3, which is the placement line for the fabric. Go around there. Oops. And then somewhere in here it's talking about some water soluble, and I haven't figured out, they're talking about for the stars, and it must be the stars with the Mylar. I've never used water soluble with Mylar before, so we'll see how that, what I think of that when we get to that part. I haven't looked at that yet. So all right, so we're going to put, oh gosh, there's a big white string in there. There we go. Put this over the center, that over my line. And then step number 4 is the tack down line for the fabric. And again, these are the 2 lines you take out if you want to use a 6x10 hoop to do this, because you'd be able to do all of them in there, but by just taking these out. So what I do when I do that is I just tape my fabric down so that it doesn't scoot around while it's, and then it'll quilt in the middle. You just won't have this tack down line around there, and it's absolutely fine because you can center it up while you're trimming, and it's absolutely fine. All right, so then step number 5, as usual with our quilting, is the actual quilting. So this is going to take a little bit. It's got a bunch of stars and kind of this cool pattern, and this was stars 5. So it's got this cool pattern on it. So this is going to take a little while, so I'll just turn the camera off while this is stitching and come back when we're ready to start the actual block. Wow, that was one long quilting stitch out. Isn't that beautiful though? With that Hobbs, I did use my my Hobbs 80/20 batting and see how much texture it has in it. I think I forgot to mention that I had no show mesh stabilizer in the hoop, which most of you have seen me do these kind of videos before, realize that that's what I had in the hoop. I have just bobbin thread in the bobbin and my my brother embroidery thread in the needle. So I'm going to do, the next step is going to be the actual first step of the design, and this is going to be the donkey's legs. So I have put in my Pantone, it's called Pantone taupe, I think. It's 1142 in the brother, and it's kind of a nice tan, and that is going to be the legs and the tail of the donkey. Okay, so there's our donkey's little legs and his tail. The next step, step number 2 in the actual instructions, and this is on page 11 of the instructions, is going to be the placement line for the flexi foam. So our little donkey's going to have a little dimension here. And I've got his fabric here too. So it's going to be the placement line, and then we're going to lay down our flexi foam and then tack this down and trim it. So we'll just lay this down. Now it says to tape it. I'm not a big taper. I usually hang on to it. And you can tape it if you'd like. Once it gets started, it's always fine. It is a little more slippery than fabric, but okay. So it's going to go around it twice. We're going to trim it close to the stitch line. Oops, something got stuck. I may go ahead and, so did you see how that got stuck a little bit? I don't want this to be off. So I'm going to turn off my machine. So this is, if that something like that happens, it looks like it kind of got stuck on something. If that happens, just, you know, my machine's already cut. I'm just going to pull this out. I'm going to turn the machine off and turn it back on again and just reset it, just to make sure that it isn't off, because every now and then, you know, something like that will happen. I think I'll reset my bobbin also, just in case. And what's nice about these machines is they have that, do you want to start right where you left off, and it just resets it. So we'll do that. Because it kind of got caught. I don't know if it got caught on the edge of something, or you want to recall the memory? Absolutely. All right, so now we'll put it back in. I think we're going to be okay now. Okay, so now we're going to trim this. This is our flexi foam. This flexi foam isn't the easiest stuff to trim, so you have to kind of pull up on it a little bit. It's got several layers. It's got like tricot on the front and the back, and then there's foam in the center, so it's kind of hard to trim. But yeah, so if that ever happens to you, if something just doesn't seem right, I just turn the machine off and turn it back on, just in case it gets, we don't want it to be off. And it didn't look like it pulled anything, so everything looked fine in the hoop area. So, all right, get this trimmed. Looks like I got a little spot over here by his nose. I have a hard time trimming this stuff. There we go. Now there is going to be fabric over it, so it's not going to show. But I do try to get it fairly close if I can. Okay. All right, so there's our flexi foam. The next step, step number 4, is going to be the fabric tack down line. So make sure that you use the color, and I've been using the same brown color. I've been using the same brown color that I was using for the legs for this, that Pantone taupe or whatever it was called. And that is the color I'm going to use for his body. Now, in here, on the next step, it says to put fray check on the fabric. I have a hard time fray check. I don't know about you. It always stains my fabric. I mean, I've never found fray check that didn't. I went ahead and I sprayed this with some starch. I just use starch that I make myself, and we're just going to go with it without fray check. So I'm going to put this over my placement line, but I did starch my fabric to give it some body. Okay. And I've never had trouble. I don't know that I've ever had them say use fray check when using the flexi foam. I mean, I've done other flexi foam pieces before with no fray check, so I don't understand why they're doing that, but we're not going to do that today. I just did some starch to give it a little body. And then we're going to trim this fabric. So we got the tack down line, and they did a nice double tack down line with small stitches, so it should be fine. So what we want to do is we're going to trim this. And again, like I said, if you put the fray check on, you would do it before you trim. I just have a hard time with fray check. It just always stains everything. And I've used some different ones and I have better results, but so whatever works for you. If you're worried about it fraying, I would go ahead and use the fray check, but I am not going to. Let's see if I can get up in here. And this is going to be a motif stitch. What would have helped is if they would have used a satin stitch here. I think it would have been more sturdy, around the edges. They would have, but I think they use a motif stitch. Looks like it is. I can't quite see on the screen here, but the satin stitches cover things way better than the motifs do. But the motifs are very pretty. Okay, so you do want to be pretty close. And this fabric doesn't seem that ravelly, so I think it'll be fine. Get a couple little pieces off of here yet. There we go. All right, so then I think this is on the top of page, I got to turn my page here. Top of page 12 is going to be the decorative outline of the donkey. So here's our donkey decorative outline. And then we're going to start working on the shepherd. Okay, so we got our little donkey all outlined. He looks beautiful. And the next step is the placement line for the shepherd. This is step number 7. I did put in my eggshell. It's called eggshell. I think it's 1214 is the number. That's going to be our shepherd. And the shepherd fabric does have the Shape Flex or SF101 on the back, like the background fabric. So there's our placement line, and then we're going to lay this down over that. Make sure I got his head covered there. And then we're going to do step number 8 is the tack down. Now this is going to have a decorative outline also. So you want to make sure you're using a matching thread here. And I almost always do when I do applique, just because I don't get caught by thinking, oh, I should have used, I have a decorative outline and I don't want my tack down line to show. So I almost always change mine. All right. Okay, so now we're going to trim this. This one's got the shape flex on the back. So you need to trim pretty close with that. You don't want any of that to show. I have a little more trouble trimming close with the shape flex because it adds, you know, weight to it. I thought about putting like a piece of like heat and bond or something on the back of the little donkey, but I think he's going to be fine. I've never done any, I have used shape flex with the foam before, but it doesn't make it as easy for it to mold over the foam. So, but I've never used any fray check before, so I never had any problems. All right, there's our little shepherd. So now our shepherd, this is step number, I have to get the step here. Stitch the shepherd detail, and so it's step number 9 with that same cream color, that ivory. Actually, no, mine's called eggshell, that matched the best. And that's going to do the details on our shepherd. Okay, so there's our shepherd. He look, that looks beautiful. I really like it. It's unusual kind of, it's kind of an unusual kind of outline, and it has an extra straight outline around there. Sorry, I'm just putting some metallic thread into my machine, and sometimes my machine likes to thread it, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have to thread it myself. So we're going to do now the stars. So this is going to be the placement line for the stars. So what I decided to do in this pillow is I'm going to do the stars in a metallic gold. And then there's a little bit of gold that's supposed to be the same color like for the hay and stuff. So I've got another gold regular thread. So that was called Golden Basket. So I am going to use MG1 for the stars, and then I'm going to use the hay in a regular embroidery thread because I didn't think it would be appropriate to put shiny thread for the hay. So, all right, so let's do our placement lines. This is step number 10. Now this is one of the things that I couldn't figure out what they were doing a wash away topping with the mylar pieces, and I've never done wash away topping with mylar before, so I'm just going to leave it off and see what happens. So we'll see if it works. I think it will. So, and then you do need to tape this mylar down. The mylar is kind of a nuisance because it is very slippery. So I'm going to get some tape out here. And we're going to be doing these, taping it down over these little stars here that it just did. I'm going to put some tape over that. And this stuff is just so slippery. It's way better to tape it. So we'll just tape it down. Let's see if we can get this one. Maybe I can get 2 pieces of tape out of this one. Maybe not, but it may work. Okay. That. Let's get this one. So I just had 3. They had 3 little itty bitty pieces of of mylar, and it's like, wow, those are really little. But I've never used water soluble, so I don't think I'm going to put the water soluble on. We're going to see how this works. I'm sure it'll work. We'll see what happens here. Okay, so then step number, and this is on page 12 of the instructions, step number 11 says to tack these down. Stitch the large star, tack down lines, and fill. So it's going to do a little fill over that mylar. Tack it down, do a little fill. And this is normally the way you do mylar. So hopefully it'll be okay. because the topper is just a topper. It's not a stabilizer. And then I don't know that I want to leave that funky looking water soluble in there instead of this pretty mylar. So all right, there we go. Seems like it's working okay. And then it's going to do, then we're going to remove and tear away the excess mylar, and then we're going to stitch the outlines. And I'm doing this all with my gold metallic thread. And if you're just using a regular gold, embroidery thread, that's fine too. I just like gold metallic, and I thought, well, that'd be really pretty for the stars. All right. So there's that. Then we're gonna rip these off. I think it seems like it's okay. Seems like an extra step you don't have to do. So when I tear mylar off, I'm just a little careful. I kind of tear it inward towards the lines. And this one is, let's see here if it's going to come off okay. A little piece right here. You might need a little tweezer. Sometimes I need a little tweezer to get a little spot. I think I got that one though. Little spot right there. Yeah, I think it's fine. And see, then you'd see that water soluble and it wouldn't really come off. So it's like, I didn't want to put it on. So we just didn't put it on. We'll just use the mylar. Okay, so just carefully pull it off. I've done mylar a couple different ways, but I've never used water soluble with it. There's a little chunk in there, so I might get it off. Sometimes that stuff doesn't rip very well. All right, get that. And then here's another one. And this is, oops, there we go. So you kind of pull in towards the stitches. It works really well. There we go. So there's our stars. They all look fine, I think. All right. So then I'm going to do step number 12, and it's still with the gold. Stitch the large star satin outlines. And then 13 I'll do also. Whoops, before I come back. Oops, must have unthreaded here. Sorry. And of course, it never, so metallic thread is funny. This is the King Star MG1. I love metallic thread, and I love this King Star. Sometimes my machine likes to thread it, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's not going to thread it, of course, today. So that's okay. It's just because it's stiffer. It's a little stiffer, but it sews through the machine very, very well. It just doesn't always like to thread. Okay, so let's back up. I'm going to back up a little bit to the beginning, and then it's going to do the satin stitches. And then I'll do step number 13 too, because it's going to do the small. There's a bunch of small stars up in here that are also going to be done with the mylar or with the metallic thread. So I'll just do that too before we come back for the last step. Okay, so I've got all my stars done, and you don't need the water soluble, I think. I think it looks fine without that. And this is all done in metallic thread then. And the last step is going to be the eyelets. And what the eyelets are actually for like the little lights. You can put lights in the pillow. I'm actually not going to make lights or put lights in. I'm going to use rhinestones or crystals. But I like to put the eyelets on because then I know where to put the crystals in. So, and then I just glue them in or heat set them in where I put the little eyelets. So the last step is the eyelets. And they're going to be in the blue to match the background. Looks like I got a tail here. I think there's only maybe 3 eyelets on this panel. There we go. This is the last one. That looks really cool. I like the metallic thread up there. And then we're going to be on to block number 3 already. Cool. All right, so we'll do the trimming at the end. So I'll just take this out and we'll go on to block number 3, which is going to be, it looks like more shepherds and an angel. Okay, so I've got my kit out for block number 3. This is on page 13 of the instructions. We're going to have the background fabric. I'm going to have to get up and press that again. Sorry, it's been in the bag for a little while. I had it all folded up, so now it's all messy. Okay, so there's our blue background. And then the shepherds are white, this kind of cream white color. And it looks like so is the angel. I think it's the same color. Yeah, I think it's the same color, the angel. And then you're also going to have a piece for a lamb. There's this little brown piece, a little piece of the flex foam, and then we're going to have some iridescent mylar and some gold mylar. So we're going to have a couple little mylar pieces. So I'll put those over here so I won't lose them. And I think the lamb is going to have the little foam under it. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. I think these are all the same color. So I'll look at the instructions as I'm going. And if you give me a minute, I'm going to get up and I'm going to press my background fabric and get some of the wrinkles out of it. Okay, so I've got my no-show mesh and my 8x12 hoop again here. And this one says we need to use stars 4 for a background. I think I have that one too. So we're going to go to embroidery, go into my stick here. It's in the bench pillow. I stuck the ones I needed. So background quilting, yep. And then we need stars 4, it says for this one. So here's stars 4. And we need the one that says 6x8. So here's the 6x8. That one's pretty too. So we're going to set that one. And then we're going to bring in block number 3. So this is going to be block number 3. So hit add and get block number 3. Embroidery files. Let's see, single hoop. And block number 3. So here's block number 3. So this is the one with the angel and 2 shepherds and the little sheep. And it says to bring it in centered, which it is. So we're going to hit set. And I think we're ready to go and embroidery. All right, so let's start out with our quilting here. And I got my batting ready. So a second here, I got to lay my book down. I got a lot of stuff over here. All right, so the first step, I got my blue thread back in, and that was called, I think it was called Blue Favorite 1240 in my brother thread. I'm trying to get it back on the spool pin here before I break a needle. And I got my batting ready. So the first step, again, is our placement line for the batting. Sorry about I keep bonking my camera. I have to get it a little lower so I don't hit it with my elbow. I've learned to do a lot of sewing with a camera between me and the and the hoop and stuff. So, all right, so there's our placement line. I'm going to lay my little chunk of batting down here on there. Actually, it might go this way too. Let's see. Sure. Yep, I guess it will, just barely. All right. And then we're going to do step 2 and stitch that down. Not going to have much left on this side, am I? I think we'll be okay though. And it's going to tack this down. And then we're going to put our fabric down. I really enjoy the Quilt As You Go for the pillows, for the small, like the mini quilts that we've done this last year. The big quilts, though, I actually like to quilt them after the fact. So I usually, when I do the quilts, and I've got a couple quilts I want to do this year, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do something Kimberbell, like for pre-recorded videos for the year of 2025. And I have a lot of bench pillows, and a lot of people ask me about the bench pillows, so I might just do a series of those and just do different ones. Or I might do one of the quilts. But when I do the quilts, I do them differently. I like to do them traditionally. I like to embroider them and then put them together and then quilt them after the fact. All right, so we're going to trim this. So we'll see. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do. I've got a lot of Kimberbell kits, and I know a lot of you like Kimberbell. I have a lot of kits. I don't have many of the new ones because I really like some of these older patterns better. So I have a bunch of kits and I'd like to do them, you know, and then if I video them, then you can sew along with me. I like sewing along with my buddies, so, you know, that'll be fun. So I might end up doing either a quilt, I might do maybe a variety of things. Or maybe do some of the pillows, because I've got a bunch of the bench pillows and stuff that I haven't done. Okay. All right, so there's that. All right, so now step number 3 is always our placement line for our fabric. And again, if you have a 6 by 10, excuse me, a 6 by 10 hoop, if you take this step and step number 4 out, you would be able to do this in a 6 by 10 hoop because it's narrow enough. But it's just because of this line that it adds a ½ an inch to the design. So then it's too wide. Okay, so then we're going to lay our fabric down. I've also got the shape flex on the back of that. Going to lay that down. Make sure I get it kind of centered there. Okay, and then step number 4 is going to tack it down, and then step 5, of course, will be the actual quilting. Okay, get this all done. Oops, here I got my book stuck. I have a lot of stuff over here next to me, so I keep getting my book stuck in the embroidery unit. Since I haven't done any of these blocks, you know, I do this stuff with you, so I haven't done a sample of this. I have never done this, so we're doing this together. Okay, then I'm going to do step 5, which is the quilting, and I'm just going to go ahead and get that started, and then we'll come back and start the actual block. Okay, so step 1 of the actual design is going to be the little legs for our lamb. So I've got my kind of tan, or that Pantone taupe, I think is what it's called, in to make the legs for the little lamb. And then we're going to, and he's going to have a little piece of flex foam too. So I'll be right back when the little legs are done. Okay, so our lamb has some legs. I'm going to leave that same tan in. And now we're going to do the placement line for the little piece of flexi foam. And this one also tells you to use the fray check. So what I did with my little piece of fabric is went over and gave it a good starch. And I'm not going to use the fray check. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here. And this one, I think I can hold it okay. I just like to hold the stuff. I don't always tape it. Just watch your fingers. It's not very big though, so they usually give you plenty of fabric. So, well, that's a real small piece. All right, so then we're going to trim our flexi foam. Get this a little closer so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, we're going to trim the flexi foam. Get it fairly close, and then kind of lift up on it a little bit. It's kind of stretchy, and there's like 3 layers. So if you lift up on it a little bit, it's easier to get it close to the stitches and get through all the layers there. This one's a little not very close here. Boy, that's a really tiny little piece, isn't it? That's our little lamb. Okay, so there's our little lamb. And then we're going to do step number, let's see, I think we got to turn from page 13. Let's see, turn page 14 here. I think the lamb, oh, I need to do the decorative, or the placement line for the fabric now. So we'll do this. And that was, I'm sorry, that was still on page 13. So that must be 4, step number 4. And then step number 5 is actually the tack down line. So I kind of skipped a step. And I've got this all starched, ready to go. We'll just lay that over the top there. And then tack this down. And I usually kind of hold this because of that little poof in the middle. Sometimes it wants to wrinkle a little bit. So I kind of hold it down so it doesn't. There we go. It's going to go around that twice. And then we're going to trim that. And like I said, if you want to do the fray check, go ahead. I've never really had any trouble with these, so we're gonna go for it. All right. Just be careful not to cut through your stitches. They put nice, strong, double tack down stitches in, so I guess I've never really had any trouble. And then if you use some starch on the fabric and just give it some body, I've never really had any trouble with fraying. Careful not to cut into your legs. All right. Just one little piece there that I didn't get. Okay. All right. So then this step is going to be on the top of page 14, and this is the decorative outline for the little lamb. So we're going to get that on there, and then we're going to start working on the shepherds. Okay, so we're ready for the shepherd's placement line. This is step number 7 on page 14. And the shepherds, these two pieces of fabric are actually 2 different colors. This one's a little darker than this one. So this is the angel, and this is going to be the shepherd. So the shepherds are done with the ivory, mine was called eggshell thread, and then the angel's going to be done with white thread. So I thought that was strange that they had 2 different colors, but these fabrics are actually just slightly different colors. It was hard to tell when I was looking at them. All right, so here's our placement lines. Little lamb is so cute. Okay, let me get this little tail out of here. So then this is going to lay over our shepherds. This has got the shape Flex SF101 on it as well. I'm going to lay that over the shepherds, and then the next step, step number 8, is going to tack this down, and then we're going to trim this. And then we're going to do the outlines for the shepherds. So there's 3 shepherds, a little donkey and the shepherd, and then the little lamb over here. And then we're going to start working on the angel next. And the angel is going to be done in white thread. This is I thought it was so pretty because it's kind of like a silhouette style nativity, so that it's minimal, it's kind of a minimal, so it's not real super detailed, and it goes fast. So I thought that was really cool. It was just something different. I hadn't seen a nativity done this way on a pillow before, so I thought it was really neat. Okay, so we're going to trim these. And then we'll do decorative outlines on these. And that'll probably take a little bit, so I'll shut the camera off while it's doing the decoratives. Takes a little while with some of these. Let's see here. The quilting on this, just so if you use the ones that they call for, take quite a bit. They're very detailed, so if you do use stars, what was it, 4 and 5, if you use those, it will take a while to stitch those out, just so you know. That's what adds a lot of time to it, because the actual embroidery isn't taking very long at all, because it's very simple and clean, simplistic. Sorry, I have to do a lot of flipping of my hoop here to get so I can trim. I like using the smaller hoops because they flip around in the machine a lot easier when I'm trimming in the machine. This 8x12 doesn't flip around too easy. Okay. It's kind of long. Get this all trimmed close to the stitches here. I'm using my Ginger 6-inch double curved scissors for trimming. These are fantastic for getting close to stuff. It's very hard to get close with some applique scissors. I've used these for years and years, and they're wonderful. Sorry, I'm flipping this all around. There was a lot of trimming on this one. I think I've got one little spot in here yet that needs to be done. There we go. So yeah, so this white, it looks white probably, but it's actually more of a cream. And then there's another one that is lighter colored. That's going to be done with white threads. So, all right. So now we're ready to do all the details. It's going to do the little stabs. Get some of these threads off of there. Going to do the stabs and do the outlines on the shepherds. And then I will be back when we're ready to do the angel. Okay, so we've got our shepherds done, the quilting's all done, our little lambs done. Now we're going to work on the angel. And this is step number 10 on page 14 of the instructions. The first step is going to be some detail fills, and I've changed to my white thread. And we're going to do the detail fills, and then we'll start doing the applique. And this one's even going to have some mylar on it. Okay, so we've got our little starter. It looks like we have some feet and a little hand and a horn and the head. So now we're going to do the next step, which is 11, and it's going to be the placement line for our fabric. And it looks like this one may have, I'm not sure if this one has decorative or satin. I think it has a satin stitch outline too. So we're going to lay the fabric down now. This also has shape flex on the back. And then step number 12 is going to be the tack down line. And this is the tack down line for the fabric only. So we're going to trim the fabric right after this. And then we're going to go on to the mylar. So they're going to put a little bit of mylar over the angel. So I think that'll be pretty. Okay, so we're going to trim this. It says trim the fabric close to the stitches on step number 12. And then we're going to place the mylar over the angel. So we're going to trim this. Hopefully you can see me okay. Get this trimmed. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so cute. I like mylar. Kimberbell's been doing mylar for a long time, and they don't do it in as many of their projects anymore as they used to. So I was glad when this one had some mylar in it. Okay, so we'll trim the little angel. Okay, and then get some of those off of there. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so cute. And then it says to place the angel mylar over the angel. So we're going to, the angel mylar is going to be the iridescent. And I am going to go ahead and tape that down because mylar is very scoochy. So we'll tape this down so that it doesn't scoot around for us. Like that. And then step number 13 says stitch the angel tack down line 2, which is for the mylar, and fill 2. And then we're going to tear away the mylar. So it's going to do, and I'm leaving the white in because it does leave the white in. I might just kind of watch my mylar here a little bit. So it's going to stitch it down, and then it's going to do a kind of a decorative fill. And then we'll pull it away once this is done. Okay, so we got all the little, it has a pretty little decorative stitch over the mylar. So let me get this tape off of here. And then we're going to pull our mylar off. And step number 14 is going to be the satin stitch outline. So when I pull this off, I'm going to kind of pull towards the stitches. And you might need a little tweezer like we did with the star if you got a little piece that doesn't want to come off. Most of the time I do pretty well with just tearing. But I always like to tear towards the stitches. It seems to work the best for me. There we go. Okay, so there's our little angel. Oh my gosh, so now we're going to do the satin stitches. This is step number 14 on page 14. And then we'll be ready to start the stars in the sky. Okay, so there's that angel with all the satin stitches, so pretty. And I've just put my King Star MG1 gold metallic thread in the needle. And the step number 15 is going to be the placement line for our Mylar. Again, I'm not going to use the water soluble on this. I'm just going to do the Mylar. Give me a second here. It looks like I've got... Yeah, I thought it was unusual that they're using the Mylar on the stars, but they didn't use it like on the angel. So anyway, we're not going to use it on the star either. So I got my little placement line. I'm going to lay this down and go ahead, and I'm just going to hold this because it's very small. It's going to stitch the outline and a little bit of a fill, just a teeny little bit of a fill. Okay, and then we're going to pull away the Mylar just like we did with the angel. Pull this away, pull it carefully towards you. Okay, whoops. I got a couple little pieces here I need to, there we go. See if I can get out. There we go. Sometimes the tweezers works best, but I think I got it. Okay. Then step numbers, that was 16 on page 14, and then step number 17 and 18 are going to be the outline for this star and the other star. So I'm going to go ahead and do both of those and then come back and do the eyelets, and then we'll be done with this block. Okay, so we're ready for the last step. Now, actually, I made a slight mistake on the last block, but it didn't matter because we didn't stitch it. But the last step is actually do not stitch the step because it's like some placement lines. And so the first block that we did also said that on page 12, number 15, do not stitch the step. And I read it and I just skipped over it, and after the eyelets were done I took the block out. So I apologize I didn't mention that. So this one also has that do not stitch the step. So what it does is it just kind of centers the block in the right place for the trimming. So we're going to do the eyelets next, number 19 with the blue, and then we're going to just skip the last step and go on to the next block. Okay, so we've got the eyelets done, and that last step does not need to be stitched because it's just some lines kind of showing, keeping the block where it needs to be trimmed. So we're going to move on to block number 4, which is going to be the little manger scene with the stable and everything. That's going to be really cute, and we're going to be using some gold metallic, and we're going to be using some Mylar. I think there's a little piece of Mylar in here. Oh no, there's applique glitter in this one, so we get to use some glitter and some Mylar. All right, so I'll get set up for block number 4. Just so you know, this video will be just a little longer than normal because I wanted to do 2 videos with the other 6 blocks. The first block is going to be done in the live presentation. So these 2 videos will be a little longer than normal just because I'm going to be doing 3 blocks in each one. So excuse me, I swallowed funny. So we'll be right back for block number 4. Okay, so we're all ready for block number 4, and this is going to be the middle block with the family in it and the stable. So we're going to have the background fabric, the blue fabric here. We're going to have some stable fabric, which is this brown, and the family fabric, which is the white. The lighter kind of cream color. It's not quite white, but I think they say to use white thread in here. And then we're going to have some glitter vinyl for one of the stars and 2 pieces of Mylar for the smaller ones. So we got all these little pieces here. And it looks like to me we're going to be go back to stars 5 for the quilting. So let's get our design up here. These are really fun. I really am enjoying these blocks. So we're going to get the 6x8 stars 5 first. Go get that. I stuck those in with the pillow here. stars 5, and we need the 6 by 8, whoops, come on, stars 5, get the 6 by 8 block, okay, and set that one, and then we're going to get block number 4, so add block number 4. Again, this is going to be in an 8 by 12 hoop. The two end ones, the two outside end ones are a little bit smaller, and all the inside ones are the same size. So like 2 through 6 are the same size. All right, so here's my embroidery files, and this is block number 4. Single hooping. Let's see, block 4, here it is. All right, and it says that they should come in centered, which they did. We're going to hit set. And this one's also going to have some fringe in it, so I'm actually looking forward to that. I always enjoy the fringe, and they're going to show you how to do the fringe in this one with the water-soluble thread. So I have my water-soluble thread also ready to go here. So I have it on a bobbin. We're going to put that water-soluble thread in. All right, so we're going to hit embroidery, and we're going to be ready to start our quilting. So give me a second here. I just need to move my fabric over and my little pieces here, and we'll get ready with our chunk of batting. I've got my blue thread in the needle, just regular bobbin thread in the bobbin, and we're going to start out with step number 1, the placement line for the batting. Got to find some batting here. This one's kind of wrinkly. All right. This is going to be that long one again. The Stars 5 is a really long stitch out. The Stars 4 is not quite as long. That's what really added a lot of time to these. It was more the quilting part, because the actual stitch outs for the blocks is not long. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to lay this down. And then step number 2, we'll tack down the batting, and then we'll trim that. I always like to start with, with the quilting and everything, because this is where I get the most questions, is with the quilting. And remember, we're doing block by block quilting. So when you're choosing your files, they should say block by block on the folder. And we're going to trim this. This one's going to be really neat. I like doing fringe. Now the fringe is done with gold also, but I chose a gold regular embroidery thread to use for the hay, because I didn't want like the metallic gold thread down there, so I'm using the metallic up in the stars. So I have 2 gold threads. So we'll make the hay out of regular embroidery thread. All right, so we'll get this all trimmed now. Trim the batting. Got my no-show mesh stabilizer in there. I'm still using my 8 by 12 hoop. These have been really fun. I've been so looking forward to doing this pillow. So I'm glad I'm getting to do it. I think I got this 2 years ago when it came out. And I think it's been 2 years ago it came out. And I think that's when I got it. And I've never done it. It's been sitting here all cut out for all that time. Okay, so now we're going to do step 3 and do the placement line for the backing fabric. Again, this is one, if you have a 6 by 10 hoop, if you've got a little software, you can take this line out, and then you can get this into your 6 by 10 hoop. It works just fine, and then you just don't have the outline around the outside edge, but you can still get it to work when you do the trimming. You just have to kind of eyeball it a little bit. All right, so we're going to put this on. Sorry, Gigi was up here helping me a little bit ago. Now we've got cat hair all over everything. Okay. So we're going to lay this down over the batting, and then do step 4 and tack it down. And then it's going to do the quilting. And the quilting takes a while on this one, so I'll just turn the camera off while it quilts because it's going to take a while. Like I said, this is going to be a little longer video. I apologize. But I wanted to do 2 videos with the other 6 blocks. So we're just going to have 2 longer videos so that you can have a video for all 7 blocks, and the first one's going to be the live one, which I have not done yet. So we'll do that live the first week in November. Okay, so now it's going to do the quilting, and then I will be back when the quilting's done, and we're going to move on to, I think it's going to do the halos and then the Holy Family. So it's going to do the Holy Family, the first part. So I'll be back when this is quilted. Okay, so we're ready for the first step of the actual design on page 15 of the instructions for block 4, and it's going to be the halos detail. So the halos I'm going to do in my gold metallic. I thought the halos would be pretty in metallic. Just a second here, I got a piece of thread stuck in here. Get that out of the way. And I thought those would be pretty on the gold, in the gold metallic, and then the next portion of the gold will be the hay, and I'm going to do that in a gold regular embroidery thread. So we'll do this, and I'll be right back, and we'll start working on the applique part for the Holy Family. Okay, so we're ready for the applique part. I put my white thread in the needle. Still got my bobbin thread in the bobbin, and we're going to do the placement line for the Holy Family. So I've got my fabric here, the lighter of the 2 kind of whites, and I have some shape flex on the back of this as well. So we're going to get these outlines done, and then we will tack these down. Yep, we're going to tack these down next, and these and then we'll do the satin stitches, or the details and satin stitches on these. And then we're going to do the hay down here. So there's a little bit of hay down here that's going to be fringe. So that'll be kind of fun. Haven't done any fringe for a while, so I always enjoy doing fringe. So we've got Mary, baby Jesus, and Joseph here. Okay, so then I'm going to lay this down over the top. Okay, and then we're going to do our tack down stitch and do the trimming. Okay, so we got our placement, or our tack down lines done, sorry. And we're going to trim our family here close to the stitches. And then it's going to do the decorative and detail stitches on here. And we're going to then move on to the fringe. I'm looking forward to, I always like doing fringe. And we won't open the fringe up right away. Well, it says to do it at the end so that it doesn't get in the way of other things that are going on. So we're going to be doing like the the stable and stuff. So we'll do that at the end. But let's see if I can get some of this trimmed out here. I have a hard time with this hoop since it's so big. And I'm still using my white thread. Going to be so pretty. I really like this quilting. It's beautiful. It's quite dense. It does take a while to stitch out, just so you're aware. I turn the camera off while that is stitching, and it does take like quite a while to stitch the quilting designs out. So just so you know, it does take a little while to do these, but they've been really fun. Not hard. It's so nice that they're not so intense. I remember doing I think it was the Halloween pillow. What was it called? Twilight Boulevard. Oh my gosh. That one was like very intense. There was lots and lots and lots and lots of applique. So it's fun to do one that has applique and is beautiful, but just doesn't have quite as much detail in it. So it goes a little faster. All right. Some of the newer ones were very, very detailed. So I know the other one I'm going to do is Main Street Celebration one, the patriotic one. Oh my gosh, that one has tons of details in it. Sorry, I have to flip this around here so I can get into this little crevice here. There. All right. So there's all those little pieces. And I'm going to leave my white thread in. And it's going to be step number 4 on page 15, and it's going to do all the decorative, or all the details and the satin stitches around the Holy Family. Okay, so we're going to work on this hay, and right before step number 5 on page 15, it tells us to put in the water-soluble thread. So you can do either water-soluble thread. This is Superior's thread Vanish. This works really well. Madeira also has a water-soluble thread. Or you can just use a visible thread, like maybe put black bobbin thread in if you want to trim it. I like to use the water-soluble because it makes it less likely that you're going to cut through the loops on the fringe, and I like that. So I'm just going to put this water-soluble thread in the bobbin. And you know what? I'm going to have to switch my bobbin case because it's not going to sew very well. When I'm doing, just a second here, get my foot up. When I'm using my pre-wound bobbin, I use my tight bobbin case, which is this one with the dot in the middle, because my pre-wounds are a little bit thinner thread. So when I wind my own, I need to put my standard bobbin case back in, and it kind of has a green screw, little pink green paint on the screw here. So I'm going to put this back in, and we'll switch this out a couple of times for this little part of the project, just because I know my machine's going to sew better with that. If you're winding your own embroidery bobbin thread, you don't have to switch the bobbin case. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this in. Oh yeah, that's going to work better. We're going to put that in first, and I've got my gold regular embroidery thread. I had number 1300 golden basket that I'm going to use for the hay down here. And then step 5 is going to be the hay, and we've got our water soluble in the bobbin, and then we're going to switch back to our regular bobbin thread to do the next step, because that is going to be the trapping stitch for the hay. They have like a little trap. When they do fringe, they do like a trapping stitch, and that's going to be the trapping stitch that's going to hold everything together. So we need regular thread for that. So I'll be back in a minute when this is done. Okay, so now I'm going to take out that water soluble before step number 6. We'll have to switch my bobbin cases again here. Put my tight one back in. I thought I had a bobbin. So to avoid having to do this, I have bobbin thread around, regular bobbin thread that I wind, but I can't find my bobbin. I thought I had one laying here, and I can't find my bobbin thread either. I must have put it in something. So anyway, I'm going to have to switch my bobbin case. I apologize. So I've got my pre-wound bobbin back in here and my tight bobbin case, and we're going to do step number 6 is going to be the trapping stitch that's going to go along and hold this all in for us. And that's why you need to get that water soluble thread out of there for that. Otherwise it won't stay in. And then we're going to go back to the water soluble thread one more time to do the step 7, because it's going to do more hay at the bottom. Okay, so there's the little trapping stitch. It makes like a very, very tiny little zigzag stitch. So I'm going to go do this again. We need to do another row of fringe. So I'm going to take my tight bobbin case out with my pre-wound bobbin, and I'm going to put my regular bobbin case back in with that water soluble thread to do the next step, and then we'll switch back one last time. So normally, like I said, I wind a regular bobbin, thread bobbin. I can't find it. I thought it was here somewhere, but I don't know what I did with it, because I usually have some around. Okay, so then we're going to put this back in here, and we'll do the next section of hay, and then we'll switch back one more time to do the last trapping stitch. Okay, so there's our second row of fringe. We're going to go ahead and switch our bobbin case back out again. Take that water soluble out and put the regular, or my tight bobbin case back in, my blue dot one. with my regular pre-wound bobbin again. And then we'll be ready to do the last trapping stitch, and then we're going to move on, it looks like, to the stable. So we're going to do the stable next. So let me get this in here. And then it's going to do that little another little trapping stitch at the bottom. Still got my gold thread in there, and we're done with the water-soluble thread. Okay, so I switched over to my dark brown thread. It's called dark brown, and I think it's 1148. It's the new dark brown. There's an old dark brown too. This one's not as dark, but this is going to be the placement line for the stable. So I got my dark brown fabric here, and it's going to do our placement line so we can put our stable on. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so pretty. A nice fluffy hay at the bottom there. All right. Oh, I think it's going to do, there's some little pieces in the center here too. We're going to have to do a little reverse applique, so we're going to have to be carefully trim out some fabric from the inside here. There's like little openings in the top of the stable here. Placement line. So this is number 9 on page 16 of the instructions. And then we'll start working on the sky next. There's 3 or 4 little pieces in the middle here. Get our placements done. This one's going to turn out really cool. I love this decorative, this background quilting. It's so pretty. Both of them are really pretty. The other one's really pretty too. It just has bigger stars on it. This one's a little bit more like a grid. Okay, so then we'll put this down and get us to go this way. Okay. And then the next step, we're going to leave that dark brown thread in, and we're going to lay this down over our placement line, and then it's going to tack it down for us. And then we'll be ready for trimming. Okay, so we got our tack down line in here. Now we're going to do the trimming on the stable. And the stable fabric did have Shapeflex SF101 on it. So let me get in here and we'll trim our stable here. I'm going to be a little careful underneath. There's a bunch of stitching under there, so we don't want to cut any stitches. Oops, see if I got close enough there. I'm not sure that I did. You want to be a little careful, especially around the hay, because it's a little looser stitches, so you don't want to cut through any of those. All the way around, and then we're going to do a little bit of like what they call reverse applique, because we're going to be cutting out some fabric that's in the middle here too, so you can see the blue through it. This part hasn't been too bad so far. Let's see if we can do well with the centers. Sometimes I have a little trouble getting those centers trimmed out. Okay, put this down here. Just be careful around your hay. All right, so we got that, and let's see if we can get these. So what I usually do is I trim, just take a little nip right in the center there, and then I start. And you don't want to cut your fabric underneath. You just have to be a little careful that you don't get too deep and cut your fabric underneath. And this is going to feel a little weird, and I think I might have cut my fabric by accident, but I think it'll be okay. It's going to feel a little weird because you've got that Shapeflex in there. So I did trim my fabric a little bit, my blue. So when I go to stitch this, I'll make sure that I might put a little bit of something on there so that I think it'll cover it up though. If I push it down, I think it'll be fine. Sometimes you can put a little glue on it. I just put a little glue underneath. But it is hard to do these, and they're pretty tight. So it's easy to snip where you don't want to snip. Especially with the Shapeflex on the back. If it didn't have the Shapeflex, it's easier to feel where you're snipping. So I did what it told you not to do. snipped my fabric, but it'll be fine. I don't think they're going to see it. I need to get this turned around here. Ugh. There we go. Long hoop. There we go. So I think I did okay on this one. This one I don't think I snipped it. No, this one I just snipped a little bit over here on this edge, but I think it'll be okay. Because I think some of the stitches will cover that up. Okay, again, be careful here. It's just hard to know if you've gotten down through there because of the shape flex on there, and when it's just fabric. I was surprised they put shape flex on this dark fabric because it's a little easier to trim out when you don't have it on there. There we go. And there. Get this trimmed out. There we go. And one more little piece here. Make sure I didn't trim that one. I don't think I did. I usually do pretty well, but sometimes. This one. There we go. But I think there'll be some stitches over there, so I think it'll be okay. That little spot, I don't think you'll see it. Okay. All right. So now we're ready for step number, what step are we on? We're on step number 11, which is going to be the detail and the satin stitches. So then we're off for that, and then we're going to start working on the sky. Okay, so there's our stable, and that little nip that I did is just covered up with the satin stitches, so it worked out just fine. Okay, so the next step is step number 12, and it's going to be the placement line for our glitter vinyl. So we're going to put some glitter vinyl on. This is going to be raw edge applique, and I went back to my metallic gold thread, and I may have to go get my glasses to get this trimmed. It's going to be raw edge, so give me a second here. I got that little piece of thread in here. Get this out of here. There we go. So put this down over the top here. And then we're going to tack this down with that same thread. And then we're going to do a trim. We're going to trim it, and then we need to do a little bit of a... Definitely going to need my glasses for this one. Boy, that's really matchy. I'm going to have to go fetch my glasses just a second here. Really matching thread. All right, we're going to trim this, and then we're going to press it. So I've got my little iron ready over here. In a second, I'm going to move a couple things out of the way. Get my mylar out of the way here. Okay, so we're going to trim this one. Looks like I got a piece of green thread stuck in my gold. I don't know how I did that. Okay, pull this out, and we're going to trim this. So this again is going to be raw edge. So you want to make sure that you do a good job trimming. Take your time. And this is, like I said, it's very matchy. With that gold metallic thread, oh my goodness. You really can't see. So I'm going to be very careful. And I'm trimming in the right place. Trimming maybe a 1/16 of an inch away from the stitches, leaving just a little bit, but we're going to iron it down so it'll be fine. There's a whole bunch of little places to trim out though. Oh my gosh, that looks so cool. And then I'll show you the pressing. I've got my pressing cloth ready, so you need a pressing cloth. Okay, get this down here. Oh my gosh, this is so neat. I love glitter vinyl. I put it on a lot of stuff. Some of you that have done my pillows notice that I like glitter vinyl. I do glitter vinyl on my pillows a lot. Okay. Sorry, I have to keep flipping this around because everything's going a different direction, you know. This way. Almost done. This one had a whole bunch of little fingers to trim out. There we go. And up this way. Did I get it? Oh, didn't do a very good job at the top of it. Let's see if I can get that trimmed out. There we go. That's better. All right, there's our star. So then we need to press it down. So I'm gonna go over here. I'll just tip the camera up. I've got my little ironing mat over here, and I've got my pressing cloth. Let me just turn the camera here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna lay a pressing cloth over this, and we're just gonna press it down maybe about 20 seconds or so. Got my little small iron, my little Nifty Notions iron. I love this. Works so well for working in the hoop. You don't have to, it fits in there, even the little one, even the 4x4 hoop. So, all right. So press that down. And there's the star. Oh my gosh, that looks so cool. And then the next step is going to be, let me turn this back down. The next step is going to be step number 14, which is the getting ready for the Mylar. Now again, I'm not going to use the water soluble. It calls for the water soluble for the Mylar, but I'm not going to use the water soluble. And I think I will get a little tape here. This Mylar is a little scoochy here, so a couple pieces of tape. And these are going to have the Mylar over the top. I'm going to stay with my metallic gold. So get this on here. Let's tape this down carefully. A couple pieces here. A couple pieces on this one. There we go. Whoops here. Pull it a little snugger. There we go. And then step number 15 is the tack down for the little Mylar. I'm just going to kind of hang on to it so it doesn't scoot the other way. Just going to tack it down and then do that little teeny fill in there. But I don't see any reason to use the water soluble because I never have before. I mean, I've done lots of Mylar. So I am going to kind of hold it a little bit so it doesn't scoot though, but I don't see any reason to use the water soluble because you'll never be able to get that out of there, and it would show. I mean, it would like dull the beautiful Mylar, so I like it better without it. All right, so then we're going to remove the Mylar again, and then it's going to do the outlines. So 16 and 17 are going to be the stars. So it's going to finish the stars and do the other smaller ones. So I'll do both of those before I come back. So we're going to pull this off. And again, I pull kind of towards the stitching, and that seems to work the best for me. There we go. Got a little spot here that didn't come off. Okay, there's that one. And then this one. There, oops, a little spot here. Let's see if I can get that one. A little spot right there. Okay, there we go. All right. So now we're ready to do the outlines on these. There's still a little spot on this one too. Sometimes I just have to kind of, there we go. I got it. So then we're going to do the rest of this. So this is 16, and then 17 is going to be the smaller stars. So I'm just going to do both of those before I come back, and then we'll do the little eyelets. Okay, so there's all the stars. Aren't those beautiful? And then the last step that we're going to stitch out is number 18. It's the eyelets. 19 is another one of those do not stitch this step. It's like a placement line. So we're going to stitch our eyelets out. And then we're going to come back and take this out of I'm going to leave it in the frame for a little bit, and I'm going to show you how to do the fringe with the water-soluble stabilizer, or with the water-soluble thread. Okay, so there's our eyelets up in there. We're going to put our crystals or rhinestones in there. All right, so we need to do our fringe. So when we do fringe with the water-soluble, you have to get it kind of wet. So what I do, and then I'm going to have to turn the camera off for a little bit. I like to take a spritz bottle that will do a kind of a fine mist. And I'm just going to spray the back of this hoop. I like to leave it in the hoop because it's a little easier. And I'm going to let it get pretty wet. I'm trying to do this like off of my machine. I'm going to let it get pretty wet. And then I'm going to let it set for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and let it soak in. And then we'll come back, and what I've learned to do is actually just take my fingernail and I just kind of scratch it off, because it really comes up pretty easily that way. So, but we just need to let it get wet and sit for a little bit. Okay, so I've let this sit for a few minutes, and I just take my fingernail, and you could take like an eraser or something like that. I usually just use my fingernail, and then I just scratch along the back of that water-soluble thread, and it makes it lift off. You can see it's coming off on my fingers. It's a little sticky. I think I maybe got most of it. There's a couple little pieces maybe that didn't come off, but most of it's pretty much done. So, and I just let it set for maybe about 5 minutes. Just let the water soak into it. All right. So then what I do is I turn it over on my sewing machine to get all wet, and it is kind of wet on the front, and it's okay. It'll dry off. We'll just we'll be able to trim it and let it dry. And then I take my fingernail and do the same thing on the front, that I scratch it. And I found that my fingernail works better than anything. So I just scratch along the bottom here. And the thing I like about the water-soluble thread is that it makes then everything look nice and loopy. Because if sometimes when you trim it, like the old way we used to do Friends, that you would trim the bobbin thread, sometimes you would get, get a hold of the loop part, and then it would have a blunt end. And this is so nice because then I can just have all nice loops. It's a little messier maybe, but so I'm just rubbing with my fingernail. And I don't have long fingernails, I just have short fingernails. So, and then we might need a little bit of sometimes I'll go grab my seam ripper too if I can't quite get it all, but that looks pretty good. I might let the rest of it kind of dry, and then I'll work on it a little bit more, but that looks pretty good actually. So there's a little bit down here that didn't come out. And sometimes I got to go get my seam ripper to help me just a little bit. There's a little piece right here. You can kind of see, if you pull it back, you can kind of see where it's not coming out. And sometimes if you let it dry a little bit, then it will pop out better. So I might just finish it when it's a little bit drier. There's a big spot right here that didn't pop out, but sometimes when it's wet, it's hard to get the thread out. So I just let it sit for a little bit and dry off a little bit, and then I can coax the rest of those threads out of there. But not neat how that works? And then you don't have all those, they have all those pretty loopy ends instead of the squared off ones or the cut off ones. So there's still a little spot right here I have to work at a little bit. So I'll just let it dry a little bit more, and then I'll work on those a little bit more to finish them up. But there's the fringe. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. So now we have to do our trimming. So give me just a minute. I'm going to have to move the camera over, and we're going to trim our 3 blocks and be done and ready for, this will be video number 3 that we'll do blocks 5, 6, and 7 in. So give me just a moment and I will be right back. Okay, so we're going to go back to block number 2. So this is the one with the little donkey and the shepherd. And there were some specialized trimming instructions, but with those placement lines that were in this, it should put it in the right spot, but we can just measure it for safety. It says that the bottom is supposed to be a 1/2 inch above the inside line of the ruler, and it's a 6.5 by 8.5 inch ruler, orange pop ruler. So there's my 1/2 inch. So it looks pretty good. And I'm just centering it on that basting line, that we made. So that's where it's supposed to be a 1/2 inch to the bottom of the little donkey's feet there. Okay. And then it says a quarter an inch from the right star. So from the star to the right, it should be about a quarter of an inch. And that is correct, basically just by using our basting stitches to help us get this lined up. So we should be perfect with that. That's why they put those little, stitches in there, those like little placement stitches to make this be just the right size for you, you know, when you get it with the quilting, to help us with the quilting. So, okay, so let me grab my, where'd my rotary cutter go? It was here. Where'd it go? Did it fall down? Oh, here it is. Okay, got the rotary cutter. So I got my 6.5 by 8.5 inch ruler. On block number 2 here, we're just going to hold on to this, and I'm going to trim it. Start in, pull back to the corner, go forward, spin it around, start in a little ways, pull back, go forward, start in a little ways, pull back, go forward. Okay, pull back and forward. All right. So there is, oh my gosh, that's block number 2. That looks awesome. They always look so different when they're trimmed, don't they? I always like it when they're trimmed. So there's block number 2. Block number 3, let's go back, look and see if there's any specialized instructions on that one. I think there were on all of these. So block number 3 is also 6.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to use my same ruler. And this one says, let's see, with the left shepherd 1/2 inch above the inner bottom line of the ruler. So we're going to lay our orange pop ruler in here. You know, put it on our basting line, which is where we normally use. And this little guy should be about 1/2 inch above the bottom. So they've got that right. And then does it say anything about the left-hand side? 1/2 inch from the inner left edge of the bobbin. So yeah, so that's the bottom. With the left shepherd, and then inner bottom edge of the ruler, and 1/2 inch from the inner left edge of the ruler. Inner left edge. I don't know. See, these are all a lot further away, so I don't understand. What is it talking about? Oh, okay, from here. I see what they're talking about this. So it's 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here for the shepherd. So I think we're good. So those placement lines will help you. You shouldn't have to move it at all. So you should be good there. Okay, so we're going to get this one trimmed. I remember when I did these before they did the quilt as you go, you know, like the block by block quilting. You used to have to really be careful and measure everything, because you had to have things in a certain place, you know. So, oops, sorry, my ruler kind of slipped on me here. And you had to have everything kind of in the right place. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't fit right. So this is nice when they put those placement lines in the design for you, because then it puts everything just in the right spot. So all you have to do is trim. All right. So there is block number 3, and this is the one with the angel and the 2 shepherds. So that looks really good. Okay, get this out of our way. I might get my other ruler out. I'm having a little trouble hanging on to this. Sometimes if I get the bigger ruler out and put it around too, it helps me. This one's kind of big for this mat, but I'm having a little trouble with scooting. Okay, so then let's see. So that was 2, 3, and then this is block 4, and I think it's the same size. Yes, so this one says, this again, 6.5 by 8.5, with the stable centered horizontally and with the bottom of the stable 1/4 inch above the inner bottom edge of the ruler. Okay, so where'd that one go? Here it is. This is the wet one. It's still kind of wet. It'll dry off. So I'm going to put my 6.5 by 8.5 inch one here. And when I lay that on and center it, this bottom part is supposed to be about 1/4 inch from the edge of the ruler, and it is, so we're good. So all of that is completely centered for us by using your basting lines. And then I'm going to lay this on and pull it back a little bit. Maybe this will help me keep it from scooting if I put this bigger one on. It usually does. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with this one. This one's a little wet yet, but it'll still cut. And then I'll let it dry a little bit more, and then I'll work on the fringe just a little bit more. It's almost done, but sometimes if I let it dry for a few minutes, it'll actually pop out of those little spots easier. Okay, so there is our Holy Family block. Isn't that pretty? They always look so different when you trim them. Isn't that neat? Okay, so there's our number 4 block. All right, so thank you so much for joining me for video 2. This is going to be video 2 of the Nativity Bench Pillow series. This was blocks 2, 3, and 4. And the first video will be the live video in November because we're going to do a little bit of this live and a little bit of it pre-recorded. So, all right. So thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up on YouTube. It really helps my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called Sew Along with Jan. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's completely free, and then you will get notifications when I have more videos available for you to watch. Also, come join us on Facebook on Sew Along with Jan. I have a group called Sew Along with Jan where we do all kinds of fun things and talk about our projects and show pictures and so on. So you can join me there as well. So thank you so much for joining me for part 2 of the Nativity, the Kimberbell Nativity bench pillow. And I will see you in video 3 where we'll do blocks 5, 6, and 7. So thank you so much and have a great day, everybody.